I mean, the only group of people that he has consistently shown empathy for, though, throughout his life are men who are accused of sexual harassment and assault. Powerful men.
I'd like to amend that.
Okay.
Because he's shown a tremendous amount of empathy for a woman, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. Delighted to welcome back to the show my friend, President and CEO of the Center for American Progress. I'm not going to do the whole bio. She's worked for every establishment Democrat out there, basically.
I'm getting off. What kind of thing is that?
It's
Christmas
Neera,
spirit out the window.
You want the full bio?
No. I just like, do we have to say establishment Democrat? Couldn't we just say winning or some other word?
Winning? Yeah. I never had any wins. So multiple runs in the White House.
I had some losses too.
You did. We're not going to talk about those, but multiple stints in the White House, unlike me. It's Neera. I've got so much to talk to you about. I think we're going to start just by making fun of the Trump rally yesterday, just to kind of warm everybody's cockles a little bit. He went out to speak at a casino in the Poconos. Why not? About the economy. And he, as Trump does, he kind of reads from the show notes live, where he's like, my team is telling me, I got to talk about affordability, even though it's a hoax. And he talked about how tariffs was his favorite word. We don't play his voice here, so I'm going to just read this part to you. He tells people if they're concerned about about affordability, they can give up certain products. You can give up pencils. Kids only need one or two. They also don't need $37 for your daughter. 2 or 3 is nice, but you don't need $37.
Nothing welcomes the Christmas spirit more than telling little girls across the country that $4 is too much. So, I think it's like
belt.
I guess I'd ask you. I mean, I just think this is like a fascinating journey for the Republican Party to go from, the market works, et cetera, to really the big problem in America is little kids want too many dolls. Asking for 5 pencils is too much. It's like a fascinating journey. I mean, I sometimes wonder whether with the tariff policy and alienating our allies, we've been thinking about, kind of the 1930s, but this is really more reminiscent of like an Oliver Twist, 1880s kind of thing.
Yeah, William Jennings Bryan. Dust Bowl.
I hope Donald Trump takes this message, this really crucial economic message, to every corner of the country. And I thought it was amazing that, like, basically as he was talking about his economic policy in a casino, because that's not too on the nose, Democrats were winning this seat in Miami, the mayor's race, which they haven't won in 30 years. Now, it's a nonpartisan race, but in Georgia, they flipped a seat that was, 12 points for Republicans. Donald Trump won it by double digits. So, my basic take here is that when you call affordability a hoax, eventually the facts catch up with you, and even like Republicans, some Republicans can see this as cuckoo. It's my technical term
you can
for this.
Convince your
cuckoo.
base. Yeah, you can convince your base who just is has pickled their brains from watching Newsmax and Laura Ingraham that like you won an election you lost. Like the hoax thing can work in certain cases because it doesn't affect their lives. They don't fucking know.
Yeah.
They're like, the people I'm watching on TV are telling me that the Italians did spy satellites and took over the voting machines and that sounds believable. You can't really convince them that like things are cheaper when they're more expensive. You can't really convince them that it's like, okay, to just be on board for Donald and let your daughter sacrifice. I mean, it doesn't seem like he did much parenting of Ivanka and Tiffany. I will say, as somebody with a 7-year-old daughter, like this is my thing that I could use most to radicalize her against this administration. It's like $3. 3? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He was at that time. I think he was out there doing his personal Vietnam, where he's sleeping around and then calling the New York, getting STDs and calling the New York Post and telling them he was great in bed under a fake name. I think when Ivanka was in the doll stage, I think that's what Trump was doing, which might show why he's out of touch. But
what's fascinating about this discourse is that it's not happening over drinks. That this is just two people totally sober
in the morning. Morning.
Yeah,
I did have a couple glasses of wine last night. He's also obsessed with your old boss Biden. Did you watch it last night? Did you actually watch it, or did you see the clips?
No, I just have to tell you, it's like a mental health thing. I cannot watch like more than 2 minutes of Donald Trump at any period. And like the only reason why I'm on X or Twitter or wherever we call it is that you can actually still get clips.
See what happens. Yeah, I'm with you. I had no intention of watching it. My colleague Andrew Egger said if I would watch it with him, he'd watch it, and we could do a YouTube video. So I sacrificed for the people. And I got to tell you, I turned it on, and within 1 minute, he's like talking about Sleepy Joe. Like you, I only could handle about 5 minutes, and I turned it off, then turned it back on, and he's polling the crowd about whether it should be Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe. You've been in politics for a while. There seems to have a limited shelf life of effectiveness of complaining about the last person. The
real problem for Trump on this, I think, is that he has gone around telling everybody in every way possible for the last year that he's in charge. From day one, I'm in charge. I'm doing the most executive actions. I've been the most impactful president. I run everything. I push around our allies. And then, just in this one area, he's now like he has no agency. So, I actually think people could have kind of an adult conversation about, I don't think Joe Biden is responsible for this economy. I think the economy was pretty good last year. People didn't feel it as well, but the overall numbers were better. But I'm not here to argue about that. I'm just here to say that you can't really go around telling the country you're the big boss and everyone, you're actually America's daddy. Okay, let's just want to put that out there, how much they talk about that, even though that's really weird. And then say, when it comes to the economy, I don't control anything.
Yeah, the one thing I told you I was smart about, like the one thing that I had experience about as a businessman. To me, in some ways, it's kind of funny. And like Trump has found himself like in a traditional politician pickle. Like a lot of times Trump finds himself in a pickle that like men that is unique to him because of, whatever his behavior. Mm-hmm. This is like something basically every president almost has had to deal with at some point or the other. Hearing just all the discourse about this, about like how does he talk about it? How does he like do you have any PTSD for Bidenomics? I'm wondering. Oh my God. Well, I want to separate two things out because I think they do get really confused. Okay. Joe Biden, we had COVID, we had this, mass dislocation, there were supply chain problems that led to, big price increases for people. It's not like Joe Biden came into the White House and thought, how do I raise prices for people? Right. Actually, that's what Donald Trump did. With the thing that I kind of, think is Some might argue the stimulus was a little hot. You can say this. Okay, sure. The stimulus was a little hot. Maybe you want to say the stimulus was a little hot. It was to actually address an economy that at that moment looked like it was cratering. A lot of data that was cratering. And so, the stimulus was hot. So that is, that contributes to inflationary impulses. It's not like we came in and said, we're going to go just raise the price of goods. Okay. Right. That's actually what Trump did. He was like, I believe in tariffs. What do tariffs do? They raise the price of goods. It's like a paragraph to get to. We had a stimulus that was hot, and then maybe that spent too much money, and then that has inflationary pressures. It's like one sentence to I raise the price of your soccer balls and your coffee. So I just think the challenge for Trump is he's more responsible for the anger people are feeling. And it's not just the tariffs. One Big Beautiful Bill Act is going to raise prices for healthcare and utility rates. So he has an agenda that actually raises costs for people. And then he has to address that. And I think the real challenge for him is, the policy he cares about the most is the policy that is the least popular and is actually raising prices the most. And so it's like he would have to just disavow what he thinks. He's now going through the motions. I totally understand the PTSD, which is, wow, inflation thing is really bad. We have to communicate. We really care about it. But the real problem
for Donald Trump is he can't even communicate genuine care about an issue that isn't about his own ego. So he has to say, I'm supposed to talk about how cost of living is high, but actually it's a Democratic hoax.
Actually, things are great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like anything. He's got a traditional politician's problem, but he just has it on steroids.
It's going to continue to be the problem up until next year. As you mentioned a couple of them. I just want to throw out there also, Democrats overperformed in 2 Florida specials. Yesterday they lost, but they did like 20 points about better. You mentioned that Georgia State House. I just want to sit on this for one more second. Trump won this district by 13. It got gerrymandered by the Republican majority in Georgia. It's like a mini Nashville. We were talking about the Nashville seat last week, where Nashville, like they did a pie, a pizza pie, where that's
they divided up this.
The city. They did that for Athens, which is a college town. Go Dogs, and one of those little pizza pies didn't work, and that backfired. So that's enjoyable. Susie Wiles has a solution for this. She was on this very creepy kind of bizarro The View. That would make me kind of deeply uncomfortable, and so everyone has to watch it with me. Let's listen to Susie.
He's going to have a fun next year, but we're going to put him on the campaign trail too. Typically, just a little bit of campaign speak, if I may.
Yeah.
Typically, in the midterms, it's not about who's sitting at the White House. It's you localize the election.
Right.
And you keep the federal officials out of it. We're actually going to turn that on its head.
Good.
And put them on the ballot, because so many of those low propensity voters are Trump voters.
Yes, they are.
And we saw a week ago Tuesday what happens when he's not on the ballot and not active. So I haven't quite broken it to him yet, but he's going to campaign like it's 2024 again.
Ooh, can he do that still? I guess is one question. Is he capable? How are you feeling at the Center for American Progress about Susie putting Trump to work, getting him out there on the road a little more?
I feel great. I think this is, look, they do have a quandary, but I think they sort of misunderstand the problem, I guess. To me, if I were Susie Wiles, I would be looking at those Trump voters who voted for Abigail Spanberger and those Trump voters who voted for Mikey Sherrill. I think the thing to think about, just to be serious for a moment, is that if you look at these elections over the last couple of weeks, there is really the potential of, the opposition to Trump building a really big tent. We get frustrated with MAGA voters, but there are non-MAGA Republican voters. You're seeing,
and there are also non-MAGA, not even really Republicans, like the new Hispanic voters who voted for him this time, for example. Yeah.
Exactly. Independent voters, people who are just not into politics.
Yep.
We've seen, and that's another good example, in Miami just last night, also in New Jersey, saw Latino voters really swinging back to the Democratic Party. So I think, our focus should be still on building a really big tent, because, I think the challenge for Susie Wiles and Republicans, it is the case that Trump has brought out those sort of low propensity voters in the past. But I think the point you were making earlier, those low propensity voters aren't like reading the New York Times every day. So, they're not like what's happening in the Caribbean or whatever, they're not hyper focused on those issues. But what they are really focused on is whether their grocery prices are up $5 or $10 or $15 week to week, whether, their rent went up. And fundamentally, the real problem for Donald Trump is his policies have made affordability harder. They've raised the cost of living, not lowered the cost of living for working class people. And, I think the fundamental quandary for them is they care so little about working class people, actually. They think they get them on his theatrics or whatever, hating other folks, culture. Yeah. This administration is very different from the first term. They were actually have passed policies that make life worse for middle class and working class Americans. And so I think they're thinking I just go put him out and we get them. But I think what they're misunderstanding is those voters have been voting on the economy, and now they see him as a cause of their problem, not a solution.
Yeah, and healthcare also. They still, they don't have a healthcare message after 10 years, and you worked on Obamacare 100 years ago now. They still have had like 3 House speakers, 4 maybe, since Obamacare was passed, and all of them promised an alternative, and there isn't one. And that's the thing I think that's really going to hit. And that's where I think, while I have some concerns about Democrats coming in a second, but while we're glazing the Democrats, that's where the shutdown message really worked, I think. All right, guys, I've made no progress since yesterday. I did a little panic browsing on the internet during dinner last night, but I still haven't bought a single gift. That's not true. That's not true, actually. But I don't know if there are any kids listening, so I can't reveal anything. I did one gift was purchased. It's not looking great though, and if you're a last minute shopper like me, Aura Frames is a solution with a gift that feels and is personal. As I would mention, here's the good thing about Aura Frames. You need a gift for like a secret Santa for somebody at work. Awesome. You can get them an Aura frame and fill it with pictures of, I don't know, work retreats of yore or something silly or an inside joke. Old buddies from college, perfect gift. Get them an Aura frame, go back through your archives, put a bunch of pictures in there of you guys being bad when you were younger. Grandma, Aura frame, grandchild pictures, done. No matter who the gift is for, Aura frame works because they got unlimited photos and video. You just download the app, connect to Wi-Fi, and you can upload personalized photos before it ships. So when they open the box, it's already ready to go. You can share additional photos and videos effortlessly as the year goes on, straight from your phone. Could even make that funny, do it as a gag from time to time, depending on who the gift's for. And no matter what, it's going to be something they're going to enjoy all year long. For limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. They're using promo code Bulwark at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code Bulwark. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames do sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support our show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, I recently wrote in the Wall Street Journal of all places that I actually think Democrats basically won the shutdown.
Interesting. That's something you might have heard on this podcast a couple of weeks ago that was negatively received. But anyway, we'll see.
Exactly.
History will judge, I guess.
I feel like history might be judging in real time, actually.
I should have read your Wall Street Journal. I had to get rid of my Wall Street Journal. It was like triggering in the morning. My father, God love him, would send me Wall Street Journal links to like rage bait me, I think unintentionally. And so I had to just let my subscrition expire, so I couldn't click on
I'll
them.
send it to you for free.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But, the case I made was, multifold. Making healthcare the prominent issue is actually crucial. Also, not for nothing, but the shutdown baited Donald Trump into the posture of cutting SNAP benefits while he was building himself a gold ballroom with donations from literally the biggest companies in America. So I fundamentally think the ballroom is affecting his numbers. It comes up in focus groups. People just talk about it. So, I think it was a hugely crucial issue. It really is important to remind people what you fight for in politics. And so I think the healthcare debate is a crucial one. And I have to say that it's been literally 15 years of them trying to come up with an alternative to the Affordable Care Act. And each and every time, the only answer they come up with is actually raising costs for consumers. Right. Senator Cassidy has a proposal that just shifts costs, has high deductibles, make people pay a lot more for their health care. So, their answer to healthcare has always been to shift the cost to consumers. And I think at a time where cost of living is a huge problem, that's just another example of how their answer is to not just ignore your problem, but to make it worse.
Tied to all of this is the corruption stuff. And I promise this is my last compliment. Okay, Neera, this is my last glaze. We can't get too.
Can we just end it now? Can we end it now?
We can't get too high on our own supply.
I have to go.
But the Center for American Progress is doing good work on this. It's the issue. It's probably the issue I'm second most obsessed with, behind the immigration stuff, which is corruption, and particularly as it relates to crypto. You've got. We'll put the link in the show notes for people. Something called Trump's Take, where you try to assess what the amount of profits that his family has taken in during this administration. You're measuring it over $1 billion. That's something that's not paper because it's in the shit coins. So, if Melania coin goes down in value, it could start to go the other direction eventually. But still quite a lot. I agree with you that the ballroom stuck. I don't know that this has stuck yet. And I'm wondering how you think that Democrats could and should be using the material you're putting up here, listing out all of the ways that his family's enriching himself, to try to help break that through a little more.
Yeah. Well, thanks for highlighting this. We are actually quite conservative on the way we assess these numbers so that they are kind of foolproof. But the bottom line is that unlike any president in history, this president is enriching himself through his office. And I think that this does have to be married with a positive agenda. I think one of the challenges is a lot of people are like, oh, all politicians are corrupt. Now we're seeing a level of corruption that I don't think like in anyone's like most creative thoughts in the Democratic Party they could come up with to match.
And it's hard to explain to people. This is like a serious question. It is. I did one of these Gen Z podcasts with some like guy who made money on crypto and didn't know what to do with himself, and he started a podcast and he like interviews MMA guys. I'm trying to get out of the bubble. Okay, I'm trying to get out of the bubble.
Yeah.
So I was like,
it's good to talk to other people.
Yeah, so I did an interview and I was like, man, you don't understand how bad the corruption is. And he's like, well, it's like worse than Hunter Biden's. And I'm like the scale is not even in the same universe. And you're trying to explain it, and it's almost so big that it's hard for people to believe it's true. Actually, how much money they're taking.
I mean, really, just like there's the money he's getting. The fact that he basically took his, his biggest donor and had that person kind of control large swaths of the government and just kill regulations or put people in jobs where he over agencies that's subject to regulation. I mean,
and then multiple other guys, both Lutnick and Witkoff's kids are literally in business with the Trumps. I don't even think the money that the Witkoff and Lutnick kids are making is in your total. So if like you counted all of them too, because those guys are all making bank. I think it was the best year ever for the Lutnick's kids.
Exactly.
Mutual fund. Shocker.
I know. And then also just like the way they're looking at Russia as like a business opportunity for their donors. It's so pervasive and daunting. It is a little hard to like get your mind around. But I think for my basic recommendation is that, we have to do real work on what are the ideas that would actually stop this in the future and not just leave this to norms, but prohibit it and really try to build this idea that whether it's a Democrat or Republican, you shouldn't be able to profit off of public service. Now, I think we live in a cynical age and people have watched too many episodes of House of Cards, and so they think kind of everybody does this in Washington.
They've seen the stock trading stuff.
Yes, the stock trading, and that's legitimate.
Yeah.
And honestly, Democrats should have banned stock trading when we had the opportunity. I do think that the way to really make this most salient, and the Center for American Progress is working on ideas on this. So Democrats have to have an agenda that bans stock trades. That also just creatively thinks about how we end these abuses. And then people might give them a little bit more quarter to talk about this. I also think this will be a lot easier for outsiders to talk about. And there'll be a lot of outsiders challenging Republican incumbents this cycle. Yeah. So I think also my last point here is there's just so much of it. One of the reasons why we did this analysis of just the overall number is that it gives you one like entryway to pull it all together and say, he's enriching himself by over $1 billion. Because there's just story after story after story that becomes like a drip, drip, drip. So I think it's really all of those things. I think actually people do care about this. They just need that example, like the gold ballroom that I think crystallizes it.
I think that inverse too. I don't like... I don't know how you break this through. And Kentucky is like obviously not a competitive state. But did you see the picture? There's like a viral picture going around of a food bank line in Kentucky. And it's like, you know what I mean? And so I do think that at some level it's kind of like, okay, maybe he's not taking up 1.8 billion. Like maybe it's half of what Cap says. And his family's brought in 900 million. And we have the longest food bank line people have ever seen.
Six times what we said.
Yeah, right.
Honestly,
sure. Exactly. I'm just saying, like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 10%. He's made 180 million. And meanwhile, they're making cuts that mean they're the longest food bank lines people have ever seen in these parts of the country. That's, I don't know. I think
I think you're absolutely right. Like, I think the thing about the shutdown was I think it's the juxtaposition of he was going to court to basically try to stop giving people food who were hungry in America while he was building a gold ballroom, taking a wrecking ball to the East Wing and building himself a gold ballroom. And I think it really is the juxtaposition of that. And I think it is, just as you're saying, food banks are expanding in America. Well, he's taking all this crypto money. And on top of that, he's acting like there's no problem. Like it's not actually harder for you. You're just wrong. It's a fake delusion.
Fewer dolls.
Yeah. Fewer dolls. Fewer pencils.
How many dolls do the children of the people in that food bank line have?
I know.
Because maybe they should be putting them on eBay.
Too many, apparently. I mean, the thing I think about fascinating is the pencils. Like, pencils are like 6 cents now. I mean, I just like, how did he go to pencils? He came up with like, the cheapest thing in America and was like, you have too many of those.
I will say, sometimes kids are a little willy-nilly with pencils. My husband's out of town this week, so I was on homework duty last night. And you know, I mean, she breaks the pencil and it's like, I want a new one. And it's like, really, you know, she doesn't like the eraser, you know, and she wants a new. So I understand his feedback on that. I think my daughter's.
Yeah, let's discipline the kids. Take away their pencils. They break the pencil. Let's just fewer pencils. Okay.
We're going to tighten our belts here.
You and Donald Trump share the attitude that the kids have too many pencils. Clearly, that's the problem of America today.
Yeah, that's where the affordability crisis is. Right, y'all. It is definitely jeans weather down here in New Orleans. And what was I doing the other day? I put on my top, put on my little shirt, little shacket. And I was looking through all of my various skinny jeans that I've collected over the years. None of them felt quite right. Turned to the closet. I was like, wait a minute. I do got the perfect jean. You guys who've been listening to me for a while know I've been testing out something new, something a little different from my identity, which is the bigger pant. The bigger pant, they're back in. That's what the kids are wearing. And so I got a perfect jean that fit the perfect style. And let me tell you, I was looking good. Thought I looked hot. The perfect jean has redefined what jeans could be. The perfect jean has redefined what jeans could be. No more saggy butts, just pure, soft, stretchy perfection. Imagine denim so stretchy it's yoga ready, sharp enough to turn heads and comfy enough you'll forget you're even wearing them until somebody compliments you. The perfect jean has 6 fits, a size range from 26 to 50-inch weights, and lengths up to 38. Giving you 5,000 ways to find your perfect match, whether you're thick, short, skinny, tall, no matter what. And we love everybody. We love all body types here. We're body positive. Even when I'm making fun of Mr. Bavino for being little and short, that's more about him, if you're a short king. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc or Google The Perfect Jean and use code BULWARK15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with promo code BULWARK15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect jean. He's also run into some trouble with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if you saw that. We're 9 days away from the supposed release date of that. Is there a Dem caught the car moment on this? Like, what do you think is next on the Epstein stuff?
I think Donald Trump will be in the Epstein files. It'll I think it'll be that he was it will look like he knew what was going on. So, I mean, I think the most obvious explanation for this whole situation where they're trying to ensure that these files never come to light is that, we'll find out that Donald Trump was probably aware of some horrifying things. I mean, unless everyone is crazy, like, why would you go to this level of obstruction to keep these files out of the public eye?
I mean, the only group of people that he has consistently shown empathy for, though, throughout his life are men who are accused of sexual harassment and assault. Powerful men.
I'd like to amend that.
Okay.
Because he's shown a tremendous amount of empathy for a woman. Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. Yes. For men and one woman who are accused of sexual assault. People who are accused of sexual assault, he's really like, could you put yourself in their shoes for once? Okay. And so I do think it's possible.
Also, I mean, just like what is the explanation for the summer camp Ghislaine Maxwell is in right now? It's so interesting to me. I mean, I have to say that I've said this elsewhere, but I just find this Epstein situation like such a fascinating, like, mass psychology break, right? Because MAGA focuses so much all the time on pedophiles. Like, everyone's a pedophile. They called Joe Biden a pedophile. The whole thing was crazy.
Groomers.
Everybody's a pedophile.
Everyone's a groomer. That was
Everyone's a
word for a minute.
groomer.
Yeah.
Everyone's a pedophile. Every gay person. I mean, it's just horrifying. They're just like horrifying. And it's like a thing they say all the time. And right in front of them, here are the facts. Donald Trump was like really good buddies with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, we've all lived with Donald Trump for 10 years. Have you seen him look at Melania as adoringly as he looked at Jeffrey Epstein? He's never looked at her like the way he looked at Jeffrey Epstein in those pictures in the 80s where he's fake dancing. I mean, it's just like, come on, people. Do we really think he had no idea what's going on? They were like friends forever. He has no idea. I mean, come on. So, and like, why would we go through this year-long effort to obstruct, everything going on, that we have to have a House vote that he breaks with Marjorie Taylor Greene, his biggest supporter, over Jeffrey Epstein? Like, it doesn't make any sense unless, maybe they'll burn the file he's in. Who knows? But I'm looking forward to it.
Great. I'm glad you're looking forward to it. How do you deal with because obviously more information comes out and there'll be collaborators with Epstein across the political spectrum. I mean, like, you worked for the Clintons, Bill, maybe, at least dealt with him in some ways. Larry Summers was at CAP. He had to leave. We saw his emails asking Jeffrey for dating advice for some reason. Like, how did Dems deal with situations like that as additional information comes out?
I mean, they should condemn people like anyone who knows about sex trafficking should be like an accomplice or in jail, right? I mean, I think this is a thing. There was a widespread social sanction of Larry Summers. He's basically asking dating advice from Jeffrey Epstein. So, I mean,
after the Julie Brown article was out.
After the Julie Brown article was out, after he'd already been convicted.
Yeah.
So, pretty bad. So, and I mean, like, the recent files on Jeffrey Epstein seem to be a little bit exonerating around Bill Clinton saying he was never on the island. But whatever, let's get all the data out. And I think Democrats have been very clear about this. Let the chips fall where they may. Let's
see here. I want my other Democratic concern right now. This is an awkward transition, but we are where we are. You were talking earlier about the big tent, and Democrats have. Jasmine Crockett has gotten in the race in Texas Senate. She's expressed some thoughts about maybe less excited about the big tent than you. There's a report from Notice yesterday. The NRSC apparently was robocalling Democrats, urging them to call Crockett's office to tell her to run, and then connecting the caller to the office. They also ran and pushed around polls, showing her ahead to try to encourage her to win. I don't know if that affected her at all, but I think that tells you a lot about what the Republicans think. Crockett said, when they tell us Texas is red, they're lying. We're not. The reality is most Texans don't get out to vote. People that I used to work with in the Texas House did everything they could to make sure they could suppress voices. I guess that's kind of true, but she, then was on CNN talking about how, like, winning over Trump voters is not as important as getting out, like, base voters and people who didn't vote. Do you have concerns about all that? Like, this feels kind of important, the Texas Senate race.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I think everyone should look at, which is the state of Arizona. Okay. 10, 15 years ago, no one thought Arizona could be a state in which you have two Democratic senators and a Democratic governor.
Yep.
Arizona is not, it is a pretty reddish state. It has more Republicans than Democrats. It has a lot of independents. It's, closer to Texas than, lots of the country. My basic take on 2026 is that there is I actually believe a real opportunity to create actual accountability for Donald Trump by taking back both the House and the Senate. I just want to remind everybody, it's hugely important to take back the House, but if you want to put an end to the craziest loons being nominated and in our government, the way to do that is through winning the Senate. It is a very hard map. It's not an easy map, but when you see these numbers out of Georgia, where Democrats are outperforming by 12 points, that does put states like Iowa, Ohio, and even Texas in play, in my view. But though we have,
and we're just seeing this swing, and the swing in that Tennessee, this is a special. It's different than a midterm. Turnout will be higher, but like you're seeing that in that Tennessee special, it was a 13-point swing. Texas, Trump won by 14 last time, but Cruz only beat Allred by 8.5. And so like a 10-point swing from that Cruz Allred race is puts Texas in play.
It's doable.
It's not crazy. It's not likely, but it's crazy. It's not crazy. It's
Beto
doable.
O'Rourke came in within 2.5 points in 2018. Could this be a 3-point better race period or environment than 2018? Sure, it could be. I think there's just like a basic fact here about the math of Texas. A Democrat to win in Texas, like a Democrat to win in Arizona, has to win, basically almost all the Democrats, a lot of independents, and probably some Republicans. So, and actually, I will say, Beto O'Rourke did that. He attracted a lot of independents and even some Republicans, and he got pretty close. In 18, and it was not like that later, but it was definitely like that in 18. Yeah. So I think the truth of the matter is, at least from my perspective, the job of the voters in a primary is not to make yourself feel good. Okay, it's not to be like, woo-hoo. What do I really like? It is in this environment, if you want to hold Trump accountable, the job of primary voters is to find the candidate who can win the general election. And I think that is what people will decide. And, I believe it's up to Jasmine Crockett and Tallarico to make the case that they are the best people to win the general election. Primaries aren't participation trophies. Like the job is, who cares if you win a primary if you just go crash out in the general? Now, I think Jasmine Crockett she is like a House member who has created this like entire whirlwind around her, and she has a lot of followers. And so I think she'll probably see a primary is good for this. Voters will ask her over and over again, how are you going to win? How are you going to get independence? And I think let's see how the primary goes.
I agree with that. I just to be clear, I like Jasmine Crockett. I
do too.
I don't know her that well personally, but I've met her twice, and very affable, from St. Louis before she moved to Texas. My people, we both were born in St. Louis, and she's charming, obviously talented. Like what I'm worried about is like the things she's saying about the race. Like that's what worries me, right? Like, and in that CNN interview, she was like, "Look, Beto only lost by 3." And he won 65% of Latino voters and 90% of Black voters. And so if we turn out those voters, we can win. And I was thinking, well, but he lost. And that's a high number. You're going to get 65% of Hispanic voters. Like that's a lot of work, right? They're not just going to vote for you just because you're Democrat, right? Like since 18, Hispanic voters have moved to the right significantly. Now they can tack back. Democrats can win them back for sure. But that's not like a turnout game, really. That's a persuasion. Like you got to go persuade them and convince them. Sometimes I get a little bit concerned when you hear about, well, we just got to excite people and get people who didn't vote and turn out the people who didn't vote. And I'm like, that's important. It's particularly important in like a close, if you're in Georgia, I'd be like, that's really important in a state that's close. In a state like Texas, you got to go win over people that voted for Trump. And whether that, period.
Like Texas hasn't elected a Democrat statewide in a while. So,
and it's not just because people who are Democrats haven't been too lazy to vote in the last 30 years. You can choose out a few more. There's some more Democrats you can find, but you got to go find people who vote for Trump. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean,
He's won 3 times.
I think the really most important thing to think about is, like, you have to really assess whether people who haven't voted are more liberal than people who have voted. I mean, it may be the case in Texas, but it might not be the case. It might be that they're just like happy with Republicans, so they don't vote. I mean, in 2024, this has been like a big raging debate in the Democratic Party over forever of like, should you build a bigger tent or should you just juice out your turnout? Sure. And the truth is that in 2024 in particular, it was the case that non-voters skewed more conservative than voters overall. Now, of course, it's a big pile of non-voters. So there are definitely non-voters who are more liberal who don't vote. And I'm sure people are like, well, let's just attract those people. But the truth is a non-voter is a person who you have not persuaded to vote. Okay. A non-voter is a person who didn't think it was as so important to them to vote. So they are making a judgment about your candidacy. So it is persuasion to get them to come vote. It's not just like they have to believe it matters to them. So I mean, look, to win in Texas, you have to do both things really well. You have to turn out your own voters. And this is the hard thing in Texas for Democrats. You have to turn out your own voters and persuade people. And I guess I would say, I hope Democratic voters in Texas give people the grace to be able to reach out to independents and some Republicans. I mean, I just say in the data, we are seeing a cleavage between, non-MAGA Republicans and Republicans. MAGA Republicans blame, they're down the road with Trump. They blame Democrats for affordability or think it's a hoax. They blame them for the premium tax credits.
Or don't care. They're happy people are being deported. That's all that matters.
But there are people who voted for Trump, the non-kind of MAGA voters who, when it comes to the premium tax credits, they blame Donald Trump for what's happening right now. The things that are bringing his numbers into the 30s are people who voted for him, who don't like what he's doing. I think a lot of time Democrats confuse MAGA voters with with everyone who's voted for Trump. Yeah. And that is just definitely not the case, and a big tactical mistake. It really limits our ability to have gigantic elections. And, again, I'll just say Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill did this. It's not like it never happened. It just happened a few weeks ago.
Another heated agreement. I just taped with the little teaser for everybody. I just did Gavin Newsom's podcast, which will be out tomorrow. And I just did a big rant about this on the Senate. I was just like, he was like, rightfully gets a ton of credit for what they did with redistricting.
Yeah, he should.
He deserves.
It was a big risk. He took it, and he won.
And I gave it to him, and because of that, in large part because of it, really, in addition to all Donald Trump's mistakes that you just laid out, like Democrats are in pretty good shape to win the House. It's not done. Nothing's done. You got to work for it, whatever. But Democrats are in pretty good shape. Like, it's a fine midterm to win the House. That's fine. But you can't be happy, like excited about the midterm unless the Democrats figure out a way to get the Senate. And that is going to require, like you said, Iowa, Ohio, and Texas. Like if Trump is in that bad of shape, if the Democrats should, because I think it would be a sign that the Democratic Party is not healthy if you can't get to 50 senators in a year where Donald Trump is, getting schlonged across the country. I mean, I'd
put it this way, I guess, which is, it is a tough map, but I think it's a tough map. But what I'd say is post 2030, the Democratic Party is in big trouble in the Senate if it can't win states like Iowa and Ohio. So 2026 is kind of the perfect time to start building in those states. And so, and you have great candidates running in Iowa, Zach Walz, others are running. And then in Ohio, Sherrod Brown is running. And, he's a great candidate. We should try to create the conditions where people can win those states.
All right. I have 3 rapid fire. I just need to hear what Neera thinks about all these topics. Ready? Number 1, the Republican, you're Indian American, the kind of Republican fight about Indian immigrants that's happening, the racist fight over Indian immigrants. You saw that on that leaked text chain. There's some like really disgusting racist comments about Indians.
Yeah,
there are like all these like concerns about H-1B visas and you know whether too many Indian Americans are coming here. You're hearing some really gross stuff. Simultaneously, there was like an article recently about how Republicans should be reaching out to Indian Americans because they're traditionally conservative. I'm wondering what you make about that whole convo happening on the other side.
You know, I honestly think this is true for Indian Americans, but it's fundamentally true for like all people of color in America, which is essentially that there is a white nationalist element to the MAGA movement. And, you know, like you're just not going to be welcome in all corners. Like, I just think people have to kind of put themselves in pretzels if they think that MAGA voters who are, you know, basically upset that the country is not more white are going to be happy with the Indians. Like, it's just, I'm not sorry. It's like, we're still brown to them. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's just a different shade than the Latinos, but we're all brown. It's like, that's how it's going for you.
That's great. Okay, we'll see if you do as good on the other two topics. Do you have any hot takes? I interviewed former vice president on her book tour. Do you have any hot takes on the Kamala book and book tour that you want to share?
I love Kamala. You know, I don't know what to say. I love Kamala. I'm just gonna say, you know, she's really. I mean, she's a super fun, interesting, awesome person. I mean, I just like. I think it's important for her in the next phase to pick some fights. I definitely agree with that. That, like, you know, I think that's been a fair criticism that she's. Not a fair criticism. I understand she wanted to write her book, but, you know, like, I think over the next 3 years, everyone's looking for fighters, and she's a good fighter. So I hope she will fight a little bit more. You
know who's a fighter near you? And I was saying, I had to tell you this.
Fighter.
I'm anonymizing this, but I had somebody every once in a while people criticize you. Do you know that? Do people criticize you from time to time?
I've never
You see
heard
that on the internet?
I've never heard that.
I had somebody criticize you to me recently, and I was like, here's the thing. Neera has been fucking in the fight since 2015 every day. You might not like every choice, but like you could have, after Hillary lost, you could have went and whatever, gone to work for Cisco. I could have eaten
bonbons.
You could have gone to work for Cisco.
I wish I was eating bonbons. Here I am fighting.
Where'd Jay Carney go? Amazon? That's a great job. He seems to be having a good life. I don't know. I haven't checked in with him, but you didn't do that. You've been in the grind. And I appreciate you for that. Final topic. You travel a lot. We all do. We have a Secretary of Transportation that has had some interesting takes.
Oh my God.
First, he admonished us all that we must wear suits and dress up again for travel. Okay. And if we want to have the golden age of America, it's up to us to look nice. That was like 2 weeks ago. He says that in an interview. I feel like we got a little bit of a mixed message, though, yesterday, because they're at Reagan Airport and they have a pull-up bar. And they're telling us now we're going to work out at the airports. That was a little confusing to me. And he was on with some guy, I don't know, some influencer, right-wing guy. And they're on Maria Bartiromo this morning. And to Maria's credit, this tension also, she noticed this as well. I'm like, how are we supposed to deal with this? And I'd like to hear their answer.
I want to commend Secretary Duffy and Secretary Kennedy for this initiative. You think the goal here is not for people to get sweaty in airports. Nobody wants to be sitting next to somebody smelly on an airplane. But
no sweating, Brian.
But, you know, even micro workouts are valuable for humans. Mini gyms.
What do you think? Do you think that's going to be the turnaround for our golden age? Micro workouts at Reagan? You just go there, 2 pull-ups real fast, no sweating, making America healthy again. Hashtag.
Okay, I just have to say, I had like a bout of unimaginable rage about this, like wearing this suit thing. Okay. I'm just going to confess.
Thank you.
I wear sweatpants on planes. All right. I wear socks and shoes. I know people are upset about the open feet. I don't do that, but I wear sweatpants. And what I want to say to Secretary Duffy is, let's not make air travel like a hellhole, okay? It's not fun to go on planes all the time. So, like, I'm going to wear my sweatpants if you're going to make it uncomfortable, all right? You do a little bit more of your job to make it a lot easier for people to be on planes. Maybe the seats could be a little wider. You know, people could be a little bit more comfortable. But if you're going to stick people in these small seats and pack us in, then we're not going to wear suits. We're going to wear sweatpants and sweatshirts. Okay. So like you do your job and make travel better. And then maybe everyone else will do their job. But don't make us wear suits while you make our lives miserable. That was what I had to say.
I knew you'd have something on that. We didn't prep this. I was just like, you know, I'm sure Neera's going to have something on this one. And so I went in blind and you exceeded all my expectations.
Let's just hope I'm not fired at the end of this whole podcast here.
Who would fire you? You're the president and CEO. That's just I can tell.
Oh, yes. Good point. Good point.
Is there a secret cabal that we need to know about? Okay. We've been hearing about that QAnon. There's what was it called? Where Hillary was taking the face of the babies on the skin off their face.
Pizzagate?
Yeah, but she was also doing, there was a word for it. I used to know this word.
I can't even remember.
You know, a lot of things have happened in the last 10 years. Anyway, okay. So you're in charge. So I think you're fine, right?
Yeah, and you got to tell that person who's a little critical to get their butt in the ring, too.
I did. You better believe, Neera. You better believe that I did. Okay? I got hot. I got a little hot in your behalf.
Thank you.
Anytime, girl. Everybody, appreciate you, Neera Tanden, Center of American Progress. Go check out the Trump take. What was it called? The Trump Takes?
Yep.
Trump's Take. Trump's Take. Bulwark Takes is a different podcast, which you should subscribe to. Trump's Take is the Center for American Progress. They're doing great work. And we'll be seeing you soon, all right? Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Do we still say Merry Christmas?
We do. Bye, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace.